We'll call to order the May 28th, 2014 meeting of the Colerain Township Board of Zoning Appeals. We'll begin with a Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. For those not familiar with the board's processes, a brief explanation is in order. A detailed explanation can be provided. I don't know, Becky, if it's out on the podium or the full legal. Okay. We can get you a full legal definition, but the sequence of events is as follows. Appeals will be heard first, and other business of the board will be followed hearing of the appeals. You're welcome to stay for the entire meeting, but are not required to do so. All who speak or testify before the board will be sworn in. This may be done either as a group or individually. Anyone addressing the board is requested to use the speaker stand. Each person is asked to give his name and address when first testifying. Our meetings are recorded. Anyone speaking may be cross-examined by an attorney. All documents presented for each case may be accepted by the board. The chairman will rule whether an additional items being offered will be accepted or rejected. The person presenting each case may also withdraw a document. Each case heard will first be presented by a staff member, usually the zoning administrator. Once the staff presentation is completed, the appellant will have the opportunity to present their case. Following the appellant's presentation, the chairman will ask for anyone opposed to the appeal to speak. In some cases, time limits may be placed on those presentations. Next, the board will motion to close the public portion of the hearing. The individual board members will begin with their questions, and board members will ask individuals who have testified to return to the speaker's podium. Following the board's questions, a motion and second will be made by members of the board to either approve or deny the appeal. It is important to note that this vote is called a straw vote. This vote brings forth a resolution at next month's meeting. That is the final order of the board. Finally, respect for this process and one another is paramount. Deliberations in each case are taken seriously by this board. Likewise, it is the expectation that respect will be accorded to everyone regardless of any emotion that may be involved. No disruptive behavior will be tolerated, and this extends to all who have testified as well as members of the audience. Anyone being disruptive will be asked to leave the room. And thank you for your attention. And you will note that there is a full agenda tonight, so we're going to move smartly through it, but give due attention to every case that is before us. We will begin with a roll call vote.
Mr. Price?
Here.
Mr. Bartolt?
Here.
Mr. Martin?
Here.
Mr. Roberto?
Here.
Mr. Reininger?
Here. We'll swear in anyone who is going to testify tonight. I will ask them to stand and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in matters before the Board of Zoning Appeals? Say, I do.
I do.
Thank you very much. The first case on the agenda has actually been tabled until the next meeting. So
if I may just touch on that briefly. Today I got a phone call from Mr. Barrett, who is the attorney representing the applicant, and he asked that the case be continued to next month, and he sent a letter, and I'd like to enter that into the record for this case. Would you like me to read it, or just
go ahead and read it?
Okay. Dear Mr. Mills, this letter is to confirm our telephone conversation earlier today that the above captioned case will be continued by the Board of Zoning Appeals to the next meeting of the BZA on Wednesday evening, June 25th at 7 p.m. It is hoped that this continuance will provide sufficient time for us to receive a proposal from the contractor retained by ODOT to do the highway improvement work along Colerain Avenue, US 27, across the frontage of the subject property. The Assistant Attorney General representing ODOT informed me that the contractor could remove the subject structures at no cost to the property owner if the structures are located within the area of the take. Since these structures are not, the Assistant Attorney General advises that we have to make private arrangements with the contractor. We are presently awaiting information as to the contractor and the timing of the work on the frontage of the subject property. Thank you for your continuing cooperation. Sincerely, C. Francis Barrett.
Okay, do we need a motion to table that?
Please.
Okay, I'll ask for a motion to table that case.
So moved.
Is there a second? Thank you. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Price?
Aye.
Mr. Bartold?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Roberto?
Yes.
Mr. Reininger?
Yes. Thank you. The next case is BZA 2014-07. It's a variance for a rear yard setback for a sunroom, and the location is 8515 Pollux in the Cincinnati, and the applicant is Better Living Patio Rooms. Owner is Eugene and Bonita Campbell. Staff presentation, please.
Yes, the applicant proposes to construct a sunroom on the rear of their property, and that sunroom would replace an existing addition that is located, I'm sorry, this is Pollux Drive, this is the cul-de-sac at Pollux Drive, this is the subject property. This little box here is an existing addition to the property. The applicant proposes to demolish this existing addition and replace it without increasing the footprint of it, replace it with a new addition, basically. And the reason why this needs to come to the Board of Zoning Appeals this evening is because no building permit or zoning certificate was ever issued for that addition, and the addition extends into the rear yard setback. So with its demolition and subsequent rebuilding, they needed a variance to address the intrusion into the setback. So it's located in the R6 residential district. Findings by staff are that no building permit or zoning certificate was issued for this existing addition. The proposed changes to the property would not exacerbate the existing condition in which the structure extends only 6 feet or 17% into the 35-foot rear yard setback. The applicant reports that the existing addition was constructed before the current owner's purchase of the house. The existing addition is in a state of disrepair. Given the state of disrepair of the addition, it's unlikely that the property would yield a reasonable return without the variance. The character of the neighborhood would not be substantially altered by the issuance of the variance. The property owner purchased this property without knowledge that the addition did not receive a building or zoning certificate. The proposed project would not be possible without a variance, and given all of the above, the spirit and intent of the zoning requirement here, I believe would be observed by granting the variance. Therefore, my recommendation is to approve.
Thank you. Is the applicant here?
My name's Chris Allen, owner of Better Living Patio Rooms. This is what we're proposing to replace, all-season sunroom. Mr. and Mrs. Campbell, our elderly, was not able to be here. As you've seen by some of the pictures, it is in bad shape and it is coming down. Again, what you went over is pretty much how it happened. They are not able to get out at all. The daughter has moved back in with them to help take care of them. This would help them very much, being able to get out, and we just pray that you folks will let us do that.
Thank you. Let's the record reflect we've got another illustration for the board to review, and so that's recorded. Is there anyone else to speak for this?
No.
Anyone to speak in opposition to this? I'll ask for a motion to close the public part of this hearing.
For the record.
I'll also move.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll begin with questions. We'll start with Mr. Roberto.
The footprint is not going to include the chimney, correct?
No.
So it's actually going to be 3 feet shorter than what we
Approximately
dimensioned
3 feet.
thereabouts. So you're really infringing into the property line 4 or 5 feet, maybe? I mean, that's how far off we're talking about.
We're just barely 3 feet.
Right. So you're barely 3 feet infringing into that 35-foot space.
Correct.
Okay. I have no other questions. That looks like a great addition.
Thank you.
Mr. Martin?
I'm inclined to approve it as well, but I'm wondering, could we take the position an easier way that it's a non-conforming use and they're just doing repairs to the non-conforming use?
It wouldn't be a non-conforming use because the house was constructed and then an addition was put on it, and that addition wasn't legally constructed.
Right.
So I
It
would,
was in existence when the zone, I'm just looking for an easier solution
Yeah.
of granting a variance, that's all.
yeah, no, I think that this is the tidiest way to handle.
And that, you can't change the dimensions to take care of the 3
We
feet?
could, but as we all know, 10 foot is not very much. And that's exactly what the size of the structure is now, 10 by 24.
Right,
They have grown used to that size,
that's fine.
and that's what we pray to.
I'm inclined to approve, that's fine, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Price?
No questions.
Bartold?
No question.
Just one question from the chair. I know the chimney is not going to be included. How deep is that chimney?
Roughly 3 feet,
Okay. So, yeah, that reduces that offset
correct.
quite a bit. All
Yeah,
right.
it's going to be gone too.
Is the foundation sound?
No. All new foundation and up to code.
I have no further questions. I'll ask for a motion to approve the variance.
I'll move that we approve it.
A second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Let's do a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Price,
Yes.
Mr. Bartolt,
Yes.
Mr. Martin,
Yes,
Mr. Roberto,
Yes.
and Mr. Reininger.
Aye. Right.
Thank
You very much. The next case to review is BZA 2014-08. It's a variance for rear yard setback for a partially covered deck. The location is 9949 Grass Creek. The applicant is Suitable Construction.
The property is located on the eastern side of Colerain Township. The applicant proposes to construct a covered deck in the rear of his property. He has an odd-shaped parcel due to the parcel is situated at the end of a cul-de-sac. The property abuts the Olympian Club, and so there is a great deal of open space just to the rear of the property here. The deck would extend 20 feet or 57% into the required 35-foot rear yard setback. The zoning resolution says that with very few exceptions, every part of a required yard shall be open to the sky and unobstructed. This is different from, for example, the front porch situation that we had last month, because that's in the front and this is in the rear. So findings on this case are the building on the property is currently non-conforming. The building actually extends 5 feet into the rear yard setback. That's an important point. The property would likely yield a reasonable return without the variance. The property is directly adjacent to the Olympian Club, and I do not believe that it would negatively impact adjacent neighbors. The character of the neighborhood would not be substantially altered by the issuance of the variance. It's unclear whether the property owner purchased the property with knowledge of these zoning requirements. Due to the building's location on the property, the proposed project would not be possible without a variance. And I do believe that the spirit and intent of the zoning requirement would be observed by granting the variance, mostly because its neighbor to the north is just a very large field and the Olympian Club. These setbacks are designed mostly to protect neighboring properties' property value. I don't believe that it would be impacted. So my recommendation is approval.
Thank you. Is the applicant here? Please.
Chris Hoodlepole with Hoodlepole Construction.
Were you here to be sworn in?
I'm sorry,
Were you sworn in?
I did not. I'm sorry.
Okay. I have to require you to do that. Please raise your right hand. Do you promise to tell the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth in matters before the Board of Zoning Appeals?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Proceed.
All right, yeah, Mr. and Mrs. Sunderman have lived in this house since for 34 plus years. So to number 5, they did not know when they bought that they were, were going to have this problem. The idea of this is they would like to stay there instead of selling and relocating. And, the deck part is allowed. It's the roof that's the issue. So that's what the variance is for the roof, to cover part of it, because they'd like some of it to be covered.
Anything else?
Unless you guys have some questions.
We may have some questions. We're going to ask if anybody else is here to stand with the affirmation? Is anyone here to oppose? Okay, let's close the public portion then.
Make the motion to close the public portion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Martin seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll start with board question.
This is for staff. What is the Olympian Club classified as? Is it R6?
It is R6, yeah.
Okay. So potentially in the future, if someone wanted to develop something there, they would have to work off setback that we're establishing from their property.
They would have their own setback.
Right.
So they would be in R6, they would have a 35-foot rear yard setback.
That's all the question.
Okay, Mr. Martin?
I don't think I have any questions, thanks.
Nice.
How large exactly is, are you covering the entire existing concrete patio, or just a small portion?
No, we're covering, the deck's going to cover the whole, well, no. If you look at where the garage is, that part to the left will not be covered. Just from the house part will be, well, the deck's going to cover from just the back of the house. The roof's only going to be half of that part, from the right side of the house over, looking at the picture.
And the deck that's there currently is how large?
That's concrete.
So the whole-
Well, it's 15 foot deep by whatever length the house is. I'm not even sure total.
And you want to expand that?
No, we're not expanding that at all. It's going to be a wood deck, ground or floor level, so it's going to be raised up off the concrete slab.
And you're just wanting to cover the portion that's behind the house itself?
Well, half of that part to the right.
Right.
Correct. There's a patio door that comes out to the left, right about there, yes. That part will be uncovered. The roof's going to be to the right, just so they can have some shade back there.
No question. No further question.
The only question would be, I mean, there is a possibility that the 15-foot depth could be less than that, right?
It could be, but the concrete's already at that level, that's why we picked that.
Right, but I mean, to ease that back problem, it could be 12 feet. So,
Could be 12, but when you get 12, it's hard to put a table on there and comfortable with people getting around and movement. But it is, yes, definitely possible.
all right, that's all.
Martin, did you have any follow-up questions?
No, I just, I'm going to vote in the affirmative, and it's based primarily on the fact that I think you can make a distinction on this property versus others because of the proximity to the land in the back.
Okay. And Chair doesn't have any questions. I'll ask for a motion to approve the variance.
I'll make the motion through the variance as read.
I'll
As
second.
recommended.
Motion's made and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Mr. Bartolt?
Yes,
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Roberto?
Yes.
Mr. Reininger?
Yes.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay, the next case is BZA 2014-09. It is a variance for a lot split with less than 1 acre. His location is 8993 Pippin Road, Cincinnati, and the applicant is Christopher D. Ribel Properties. Staff presentation, please.
Yes, so this is an interesting case. There's lots of different facets to this. The long and the short of it is there's two parcels on Pippin Road, one that has all the frontage and another strip that sits behind it. The applicant is proposing to subdivide this property so that one half can be sold, and the subdivision line runs right about where that red line is. The outcome of this subdivision, well, currently both parcels are non-conforming, and the outcome of the subdivision would be that there would be 4 non-conforming parcels, and the non-conformity would be exacerbated. So in the B3 Commerce District, the minimum lot size is 1 acre, and currently the front parcel is about 0.72 acres, and the back parcel is, the landlocked parcel here is approximately 0.14 acres. So as findings in this case, the existing, and there's more. The applicant has conveyed to me that he spoke with my predecessor, the planning director, Dr. Rashke, and Dr. Rashke had told him that this would be okay. unfortunately, there's no record of that, and I'm not able to approve, a subdivision that doesn't meet our zoning resolution. So that's a complication here. So findings of fact this evening on this case are the existing parcels, which are 0.72 acres and 0.14 acres, are non-conforming because they are less than the 1 acre minimum lot size for the B3 district. Property in question would likely yield a reasonable return without the variance. The proposed subdivision would create 4 non-conforming parcels with areas of 0.4 acres, which is 60% deficient, 0.32 acres, which is 68% deficient, 0.09 acres, which is 91% deficient, and 0.05 acres, which is 95% deficient. The character of the neighborhood would likely not be substantially altered by the issuance of the variance, and that's because it's a line. It would just be a line. They'd be subdividing. So from the street, you wouldn't see any change. It's unclear whether the owner purchased the property with knowledge of this zoning restriction. Property owner's predicament could be resolved by selling the property as a whole rather than subdividing the property and selling them as separate parcels. I believe that in this case, though it's a very unique case, the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would not be observed by granting the variance, and so my recommendation is denial.
Thank you. Is the applicant here?
Gentlemen, my name is Charles Mitchell. I'm an attorney. My offices are located at 6059 Bridgetown Road in Green Township. I have with me Mr. Christopher Reibold, who's the owner of CDC Properties, which is the owner of it's a limited liability company. It's the owner of the real estate. In 1991, he individually purchased the 2 parcels that are depicted on the aerial photograph there. And then in 2006, in order to shield himself from liability, he established a limited liability company. So he has been in ownership, and he's the sole owner of the LLC. He's been in ownership since 1991, which predates your zoning resolution, and which is contraindicative of one of the findings of staff, and that's that he purchased the property perhaps without or with knowing that these conditions existed, because your zoning resolution didn't exist at the time. It was Hamilton County zoning. When he purchased the property in 1991, he purchased, there was a house on the property and there was a garage that was used for automobile purposes. He obtained from Hamilton County a zoning certificate, because this was an F-light industrial district. He obtained a zoning certificate to build the industrial building that's depicted on the top part of that drawing, and then obtained the zoning certificate, then the building permit, built it. He had lawful uses. The existing uses there, while they may be non-conforming, are certainly lawful existing uses on the parcel. And we're here because all my client wants to do is draw one line across the property. He has a unique situation in that he's had some severe health problems in the last several years, including a bout with cancer, including a heart attack, and he needs to retire. He's had this property on the market for about 3.5 years as an entirety, again, which is kind of contraindicative of what the staff findings of fact were. He has not had one offer to purchase the entire parcel, or 2 parcels as they exist. He's had only one offer to purchase the upper part, or the northern part of the parcel above the red line, and that's by a company that is going to use it mostly for inside storage and some vehicular overnight parking and that type of thing. Won't even be a real active industrial use. But nevertheless, for the last 3 years, he's been operating his business there. He's the tenant. It's not like he's renting it out to someone. And he's operated for the last 3 years with no profit, no income as a result of this. Even in light of his history of physical problems. And the reason is he doesn't want it to be vacant. He realizes that if this were to become a vacant building, its value decreases. He doesn't want that. It becomes a target for vandalism. You don't want that. The township doesn't want that. So we believe that the best situation, the best remedy to deal with this is for your board to adopt the kind of the no-nonsense practical solutions that I've seen from some of your replays that you'd like to adopt, and that is to try to fix the situation by coming up with a reasonable solution, one which doesn't have a negative impact on the community. And since all we're doing is drawing a line across the property, there's no change in the building, there's no change in the use. Any change that would happen in the future, if they wanted to make a change, you still have jurisdiction over that because it would be a variance. They'd have to come back to you for any subsequent or any future changes to the uses of those. Right now, there are 3 separate uses on the parcel. We have the industrial building at the top. In the center, there's a garage building that houses a kind of an auto body mechanical operation. And then there's a single-family residence to the south. So within itself, within this less than 1 acre parcel, you have a transitional zone. And this would not disrupt that transitional zone. It would really facilitate it because it's going to set off the light industrial part to itself, and then you would have the automobile operation in the home remaining on the other parcel. But, when considering the criteria in these type cases, there are 2 sets of criteria to use. First is the criteria set out in your zoning resolution, which is section 4.4.2, variance review criteria. And I'd like to apply briefly the sections of that to the facts in this particular case. Section A of 4.4.2 says the board shall not be authorized to grant a variance for a use that is otherwise prohibited by the zoning in the zoning district. Well, we don't have a change in use. The uses that are on this particular parcel are uses that are permitted in this zoning district. It says that you can authorize a variance when such variance will not be contrary to the public interest, where owing to special conditions, a literal enforcement of the resolution will result in unnecessary hardship. And I think that because of the health situation, the fact that my client doesn't want this building to become vacant because he's going to have to retire, he doesn't have any choice. If he has a buyer right now for the one part of it. If this variance doesn't go forward, he loses his buyer, he has to retire, we have a vacant building. He has then suffered an unreasonable and unusual and unnecessary hardship, one which he did not create. As I previously mentioned, the uses are lawful. They're there, they're non-conforming, they were permitted under the county code when this was governed by the county code. And again, we've stated that there'd be no change in use. The request will not be contrary to the public interest because, again, we're not doing anything except drawing a line. No change in building, no change in uses, just a line so that it facilitates the sale. Now, there's no way that he can possibly conform to the 1 acre limitation that you have in your zoning resolution. The total of all of the property that he has is like 0.88 of an acre. So no matter what he does, no matter what configuration, it's not going to comply. And he just has a potential purchaser that is steadfast in it doesn't want the automobile operation and doesn't want the residential. All it wants is the commercial building to the north. The other set of criteria that are used to determine whether variances like this should be granted are the Duncan criteria. And I'd just like to take a moment to address those briefly. The first is whether the property in question will yield a reasonable return or whether there can be a beneficial use of the property without the variance. And, that one's, it's close both ways. If he has to shut his operation down, loses his buyer, then he loses a big part of the beneficial interest. Yeah, he'll still collect some rent from the automobile operation and some less rent from the residential, but the primary income will not be there. The second is whether the variance is substantial. Gentlemen, you can't have a variance less substantial than drawing a line on a piece of paper. And yes, it does create some fictional, not fictional, but some parcel variances, but it's just a line. No changes, no building change, no parking lot change, no use change, nothing along that line. The third is whether the essence or character of the neighborhood would be substantially altered, or whether adjoining properties would suffer a substantial detriment. Again, not with the drawing of a line. Whether variance would adversely affect the delivery of governmental services. Again, it couldn't possibly affect the delivery of governmental services. Whether the property owner purchased the property with knowledge of the zoning restriction. Well, that would be literally impossible for him to have known what the zoning restriction was, because you didn't have a zoning code at the time that he purchased the property and built the building. Next one is whether the property owner's predicament feasibly can be obviated through some method other than a variance. Well, he's tried to sell for 3.5 years. He's tried to sell the parcel in its totality, and he's not been able to do that. And as I mentioned, he has to retire. He doesn't have an option. And if it sits empty, it's only going to be a drag on value and possibly a drag on the community. Nobody wants those things to happen. And whether the last one is whether the spirit and intent of the zoning requirement would be observed and substantial justice done. With all due respect, I differ in opinion from staff, because I think in this particular instance, with all the circumstances considered, justice would be done. The spirit of zoning resolution is not impacted really one way or another, because it's already, the lot sizes are already beneath the requirements of the zoning code. And but for the reasons that we've set out, we believe that it only makes common sense to allow my client to go ahead and divide the property so that he can sell the industrial portion of the site, and then he can retire for his health reasons.
Three different realtors.
I'll ask you to identify yourself and your address and your name.
Christopher Rybold, I'm the owner of the property. I've had it through 3 different realtors for 3.5 years. I've tried everything in every way, and even went to the buyer that I have now, trying to come up with a solution that even work out where I gave it to him, and I could still rent it out in some ways to try to solve the solution. I have not. They're not interested in it. They don't want to go there. And I'll lose my sale if I don't get this division this way. I mean, I've went to them, I've done everything. I've tried to work it in everything that I can think of, in every way I can do it. They're not interested in going there. That's the solution, or the problem that I'm in now.
Is there anyone else speak in favor of this? Anyone to speak in opposition? Then we'll close the public portion, and we'll begin with board questions. So
Make a motion to close the public portion.
motion's made. Is there a second?
A second.
Barclay seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll begin with board questions. Mr. Roberto.
First, there will be the staff. Can you, is there another picture that shows so we got the previous one, great. We're surrounded by residential. This piece is somehow been zoned B3.
It's very near the intersection of Pippin and Compton.
Yeah, of course.
Actually, behind that, sir, is there's a deep shelf going down to a creek. There's actually no way to develop behind there. There'd be nobody could ever. There's a steep drop off back there. It's unbuildable. There's a big creek and the water, and there's a trailer park behind that.
So
Just to the north, there's a Duke Energy Power
And there's
Station.
Duke Energy to,
So the property line that you have, you essentially are built directly on the property line, correct?
yeah, it's
And
according
Hamlin
to,
County gave you permission.
yeah, it's still in accordance now even. All the zonings on it now are still.
It's a good thing we weren't zoning then, because there's no way we would let that go.
Okay, well, it's been checked, and it's according to the zoning now. There's no setbacks for the
So,
building.
so back to staff, if we were to grant this division, and it's going to be two separate owners, aren't we complicating the variance between the two properties now? I mean, they're going to be sitting on top of each other. Now we have no setbacks on the side yards if they're two separate properties.
That's true, but in the B3 district, there are no side yard setbacks.
Okay.
So that, or rear yard setbacks.
I have no further.
I'm just a little confused. When I read the material, I thought you operate the automobile repair?
No, I run the building on the north top part as a welding shop.
Okay, so-
A
and that's,
welding repair shop in there now.
okay, so
That building right there, that's a welding repair
if we
shop.
allow this split, you're going to continue to own the house and the auto repair shop and continue to rent those out?
Yes. I'll continue it on just as it is now. I actually like to straighten up more while I have more time to deal with it.
Well, yeah, one of my concerns when I drive by there a lot, and there's lots of cars in there that
Right.
probably shouldn't be there.
Yeah. I'd like to try to work on some of that myself, just I only can deal with so much with what I've been dealing with and been limited on my abilities to address more things than I can deal with. It's called.
So are you actively using that as a welding shop now?
Yes, I am.
Do you have any employees?
No, I do not. I work by myself, so I have for over 25 years.
Well, I'm trying to find a solution here, but I have to tell you, it's not exactly the way I envisioned it. I thought that you were basically going to retire from the automobile repair facility, and I didn't realize that you were going to continue to rent that out. So I'm not sure. I mean, I understand your health issues, and I'm trying to be sympathetic to them, but I'm having a difficult time thinking why I should approve this. I mean, there's certainly some financial reasons that are going to benefit you, but at the same time, you're not in a situation dissimilar from other people. And when granting a variance, as your attorney correctly pointed out, I mean, we've got to find something that's peculiar that justifies this variance. And I'm trying to find that, and I'm not finding it.
I don't. I mean, that's just, I can't get the sale. I can't get out from under where I'm at until I can sell that off.
But the option would be to continue the property as is. You could continue to have the rent from the house and from the automobile facility. You just would not be, you'd have the other,
I'd have the overhead and the taxes and everything on
Right.
that building, which would
but you could rent that to somebody.
maybe not. You can't sell it, you can't rent, this market
Have
right
you
now.
tried to rent it to someone?
No, I have not.
And I'm a
Because
little,
of the problem that if that got into the rental and then it went down, it could financially collapse me and I'd lose everything, my house, everything's on it. It would suck me into that thing, and then once I got into that without selling it, the overhead of that without operating it would be so great that I would not be able to afford it. And I'd
But it's-
possibly lose my house, my home, and everything.
I understand, I understand all that, but
It's all tied together.
it is possible that you could rent it out. I mean, for example, and the last question I have, I guess, is I'm a little vague on what the person that wants to buy this is going to use it for. You said storage?
They have they go in and clean houses after fires and restoration and flooding. And the vans that they use have a carpet cleaning and different solutions in them that need to be kept from freezing in the winter. So they have to keep those trucks in a building in the winter when they're not operating them. So all the trucks would even be inside, and they want to keep them in for vandalism purposes and everything, to keep them safe in a building so nobody, messes with their trucks at night. So they want to pull everything in. They're not even actually going to operate daily show, there's not even going to be anybody there. It's just going to be for storage, basically. They're not even going to operate it and have, a storefront there.
It's in a dangerous part of the road, too. There, you're right at you're at the crest of the hill, I think, and it's,
The house is up at the top,
Right.
and then it goes down, and that.
I'm a
the
little
building's
concerned about
halfway
the
down that
additional
hill.
traffic, too, that's going, that with people coming in and out of the storage facility versus what you have now.
You know, I get probably more people with the customers and trucks and stuff coming in and out of there now. It'll just be their 7 or 8 trucks leaving in the morning and coming back at the end of the day.
If you wish to address the board, you need to come to the podium, identify yourself, and I assume you were sworn in? Were you sworn in?
She needs to be sworn.
If you wish to put a comment in the record, I need your name, I need you sworn in.
Okay.
Do
My
you wish
name
to,
is-
do you wish to address the board?
Yes, I think.
Okay, so if, were you sworn in? So raise your right hand, please. You swear or affirm that you will tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth in matters before the Board of Zoning Appeals? Say I do.
Yes, I do.
Please state your name and
My
address.
name is Kim Rybolt, and I am his wife, and that is not going to be used as a public storage.
I understand that.
Okay, I didn't know if you understood that.
I understood that.
Okay, but there's, I think, 3 or 4 vans that they're going to operate out of there, and they're going to use that for their storage.
I understood that.
Their stuff. Okay.
I understood
that's-
that. I don't have any other questions.
Mr. Price?
Is there currently somebody living in the house now?
Yes.
And how long has that tenant been there? Okay, and you're gonna continue renting that out, right?
Correct.
And the garage that's there, what, is it just an auto repair garage?
Yeah, mechanical
And how long has that company been in there?
for a year.
And again, you're gonna continue to rent that out as well? Okay. Just wasn't sure if you were living in the house or?
No.
That's really the only question I have.
Bartold?
I had a similar question about, there is a possibility to rent the north building. That is a potential source of income. And on paragraph B of the second page of the letter, towards the bottom, it says this is not a condition created by my client, but I would disagree with that. I mean, you purposely built the industrial building on the site, correct?
Yes.
While the house and the auto body were there. So this is a condition that you have created.
But it
Now
was
you're trying to
a
uncreate
lawful
it.
use, a lawful permitted
Sure,
part of
but he
construction.
created, in a capitalistic society, he created something that he was allowed to do. Now he's trying to have us undo it.
But at the time that it was constructed there was no acre or a part acre or any type of
That's fine.
size limitation. That was imposed at some time later when your zoning code was enacted.
Right. So if this new property line's put in, again, same thing like last night, there's going to have to be a 2 or 3 hour firewall constructed for the building department?
That is, I wonder about that. So when a new building is constructed within 3 feet of a property line, the wall has to be fire rated 2 hours. Question that you asked is, if you have an existing building and a new property line is created, do you have to go back in and re-rate that wall? I don't know the answer to that. No, if the building is within 3 feet of the property line.
Oh.
But it's masonry construction? That's, should,
Of both buildings, I mean, the auto body, would it also be on the property line? The auto body?
It's not auto body, just a
Well,
small
mechanical.
Auto repair.
Auto repair. That's about 7 feet from the building.
From the property line?
That's 70 feet from the back of the building, which is going to be the property line. So it'd still be 7 feet away from
Right.
that building.
And in the same paragraph, it says that the applicant will devote time to improving the appearance of the remainder of the property. So do we have a guarantee that that's going to happen?
Guaranteed.
Just verbally?
Please.
Just verbally? I mean, you're just going to
All
tell
right.
us that you'll try?
Yes, I will bring that around. That's, I mean, with all the things that have been going on in my life, it's been tough to take on more things. So I've been, what was there and trying to get further. If I can correct some of the other things, I'll have more time to do, more ability of energy.
You have some,
Well,
We
I mean, that would
certainly
be,
receptive.
yeah, I don't know, that would be kind of hard to quantify
Would be.
what an improvement would be. So, that's all the question.
Just one quick thought. I just want to make sure I understood you correctly. You have or have not asked the prospective buyer whether he'd be interested in being a renter?
Renting now.
But they're not, they would not be interested in renting the property? Have you asked them that question?
Yes, they're renting from another person in another location now. They
Right.
want to purchase and own themselves. So they're not receptive to renting because they're renting now. They want to buy a building while the market's.
And given the fact that the other two properties are income producing, there's no way you can work out an arrangement with the purchasers so that it's
Tried
to their
every way.
advantage to
I've
have the
tried
whole
it.
property?
Now, I've already tried that. I've tried every solution. I don't want to go there. Until we talked and tried to hash out some kind of a solution, or just, they're not interested.
Okay, thank you.
The only comment I would share is not so much a question, it's just a concern. We're taking and we're subdividing property that is below our current zoning standards, at, as you stated, 0.88 acres, and making it 4 smaller, more deficient properties. That is where I have a struggle. I understand all the concerns and issues. That is something that if we acted to approve, we would create really patchwork situation.
Gentlemen, there's one potential solution to that. May I approach the screen?
Certainly.
That back property could be connected, make it 2.
If we had to, we could consolidate this parcel into one by filing a consolidation plat, or these 2 parcels, and consolidate those 2 parcels into one. So you'd have 2 larger parcels than the configuration you have now with the 2 parcels. The only reason that we didn't make that initial proposal is because there's additional expense in the surveying and filing the plats and doing that type of thing. But if that's what it takes to get, as a condition to satisfy the board, that's something that my client would certainly be willing to consider. And also to kind of evidence his good faith, when he was advised several years ago by Mr. Mill's predecessor that he could do this, he was still trying to sell it in its totality. So it didn't make sense to do the subdivision of the parcel at that time when he had verbal approval to do it, because it was his desire to sell it all at once. And he can't do it. But hopefully maybe the consolidation would maybe make it a little easier to swallow. You still have 2 parcels, just like you have 2 parcels now.
Okay, I will, Go ahead.
How did we get to the 2 parcels that you have? I mean, how did you get the sliver plus the?
When I bought the original front part toward the road, it really wasn't big enough to develop and get parking and do the building. And the person that owned the house with that property owned the trailer park, which is that property. And in our contract, I needed 25 more feet on to the back of that to make it big enough for me to be able to build properly and develop it the way that I needed to. And they agreed that other 25 foot was added in to that parcel at that point in time when I purchased it, to try to make it bigger, like we were talking, to make it a bigger plot to be able to do the job better. It just wasn't really going to be big enough for me to do what I was trying to do unless they gave me that extra property back there and made the parcels bigger to be able to do it. That's how that came about.
Thank you.
any other questions from the board? There any motion to approve or deny?
I make a motion to approve with the stipulation that the parcels are combined.
I mean, the split, north and south, 2 parcels?
Correct, yeah. But you would have to get a new survey and have it replatted. And
We have the survey, we just have to have them do a consolidation
Right.
plat to do.
Is there a second to that motion?
Can I offer a friendly amendment to that motion? I would further condition that on the fact that the automobile facility be brought into compliance, total compliance with the zoning requirements in terms of storage of vehicles, number of vehicles on site, so on and so forth. Not artfully stated, but you get the gist.
Please?
And not artfully stated, but you get the gist.
Okay, well, I don't know what that,
So just to be clear, you're saying currently it's a non-conforming use, and there's many, I can just tell by the picture that there are violations of our zoning resolution on the site. So you're saying that the violations to the zoning resolution need to be brought into compliance, but the question is, does that building, like, are we talking about
No,
landscaping?
I'm not talking about the bill, I'm talking about
Cars,
the
basically.
cars.
Just the cars?
Right.
So
Yeah, thank
landscaping,
you.
lighting, parking?
Right.
Are
clean up
those?
the lot and get rid of the
Well,
unnecessary cars and
wait a
get
minute.
it.
I want to
that
be
way.
clear here.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to be enforcing this.
Well, I'd be interested in your opinion on this, too.
Okay. Well, I think that that's a very creative solution. The fact that those two are consolidated, I think that's a good solution. And I also am very favorable to bringing this property into compliance. The question is, we now have in our zoning resolution rules related to landscaping, lighting, parking, et cetera, including number of vehicles. Are we talking about complete compliance with that? So a landscaping plan, a lighting plan, a parking plan would be required, or are we just talking about the cars?
I'm in favor of complete compliance. I mean, one of the things that I'm interested in, I think I speak for other board members, is getting a better look for Colerain, and that's, right now, that's not the best look. So I sympathize with the plight he's in, and I'm trying to be constructive in trying to come up with a solution, and I think this is a perfect opportunity to get the whole site better looking. And because we're bending over backwards to do that, I think we're going to impose some costs on you, but I think those costs are appropriate given the circumstances.
With all due respect, we request some additional time so that we can find out what those additional conditions would be.
Sure.
To come into compliance, because
I don't know.
he doesn't know whether he can do it or not. And I don't know that any of us know whether he can bring it into total compliance.
I think that's a great idea. So my recommendation would be to table it to
Okay.
June.
I'll make the motion to table it then.
I have a question.
But that's going to measure sale.
Let's do a question first.
I don't
I was just
know.
curious, if grant the
That's what I'm
variance
trying to even understand. what-
becomes two
what we're
properties,
deciding.
and they agree to the zoning upgrades, how do you enforce that? Because he might get what he wants, and then for 6 years, we might fight with
Right.
that property,
So.
trying to get it up to zoning code.
Right, so the way this came to me first was through an application for a lot split, and I would not grant the application for a lot split until the conditions are met. And once I grant permission for the lot split, then the property can be taken down to Hamilton County and recorded.
So at this point, we're going to table your motion. We're going to ask for the request to be tabled until the June 25th meeting.
No. I think we.
I don't know if we're
Okay.
just stretching
And I
too
don't
much
want to
further.
try, and I'm not looking for a denial, because I don't want to have to go down and see a magistrate on this case. We're looking for an approval, and we want to work. But if we put it off until June, he's already out of time, I think, right now in his contract, and they've
Yeah.
been bearing with him, knowing
Right.
that we're in the process. But they wouldn't know then until sometime in June. Then that's just for a straw vote, so we'd be in July or perhaps later, depending on when your meetings fall.
It's
And
probably a problem.
I don't think we're going to
I
come.
mean,
So, Mr. Mills, we know this is a pretty small little area. I mean, do you have a rough idea, when you say landscaping and lighting?
So what a landscaping plan entails is, so there's a landscape architect generally, or sometimes civil engineers put together, they look at our zoning resolution, and they look at the site, and they apply the landscaping rules, which involve streetscape landscaping and bushes, shrubs, trees. There's formulas, and they apply those formulas to the site. That would be landscaping. And lighting, there are maximum lighting, so that's generally a photometric plan that a civil engineer would put together, and it tells you the foot candles of illuminance on a certain place, on the site. That's the lighting plan. The parking plan just demonstrates ingress and egress. It shows the drive aisles. It shows the dimensions of the parking stalls and the number of the parking stalls. And so those things, so if anybody were to build in a B3 district, a new building, those are the things that they would require to.
Compliance with those requirements are virtually impossible. As Mr. Mills will tell you, when Hamilton County adopted its revision of the zoning code, it had a several-year grace period where they were allowing properties to redevelop before the imposition of those more stringent standards. Because once you impose those standards for the landscape area and the parking stalls and the 22-foot wide aisles.
24.
24-foot wide. It's virtually impossible to redevelop a parcel that's this size, and by imposing all the conditions that are necessary to come into compliance, it's basically putting him into a situation where he is redeveloping the entire site. And while I don't want to be negative, I'm trying to be practical.
There could be a landscaping plan that, I mean, any improvement is improvement. So if you accept the premise that it is impractical or impossible to meet our standards now with this, then produce a landscaping plan that's acceptable to the Board of Zoning Appeals, produce a parking plan that shows adequate means for ingress and egress, and that's an option.
And again, we're not saying this has to be done by July or August even. We're saying that you have to agree to do this by a date that's acceptable to us.
I mean,
And understood that, or understand, I guess, that in fact, you're already in violation because the zoning enforcement officer could go to the site tomorrow and cite you for violations of cars parked in that auto repair facility. So we're kind of trying to be really nice to you is what I'm saying. I understand your predicament, I understand your timing issue, but also understand the predicament that we're in. I mean, I think we're trying to be very reasonable and I think we'd be very reasonable in terms of giving you a variance from anything that you say you can't meet. Tell us why you can't meet it. I can't guarantee that, but I think we're pretty reasonable.
With all due respect, there now, I disagree with that because as long as
I can't, but
your enforcement officer could. As long as that was a lawful non-conforming use at the time that your zoning resolution went into effect, they're permitted to continue that use as a lawful.
Absolutely, and I'm not suggesting that. I'm suggesting that the number of cars that are parked I'm not talking about the use, I'm talking about the fact that there are a number of cars that are parked at the auto repair facility, have been there for quite some time. They're not allowed, you can't do that.
Sure you can. There's case law in Ohio, but the Ohio Supreme Court.
I make a motion to
not
deny.
divide.
I'm just-
Okay, all right, we've got a motion actually on the table to split it in half. There was an amendment to the motion initially to clean up the car repair shop. Then we came to the other components to bring it into full compliance, which was landscape, light, and parking. So we have an amendment to the first motion, which was to split, and so we're going to take and vote on the amendment, which was to clean up the car storage facility. So,
Which they're not going to agree to.
Which they're not going to agree
well,
to.
and
Please give us a chance to.
that's like, let's try to work with a compromise here, and if we're probably not going to be able to,
Trying to do.
okay, so I'm trying to,
I think
I
share
could
Mr.
clean this
Paperno's
up.
frustration.
Yeah, I know, that's what I'm
And
trying to
you-
say.
If you want to keep saying you can't do it, then you're
No,
really tying
okay.
our hands to helping you
Right.
come to this solution.
I want to give you what you're wanting also. I don't like it myself. I just have had my hands full of doing that. I want to clean it up myself personally.
What we
And-
want to do is put it in writing so that you are held to fix it.
Okay.
At some point in the near future. Nobody said you had to go out tomorrow.
Okay.
to Fix it. What we want to say is, we will grant you this variance.
Okay.
But you got to clean up this
Okay.
and bring it into code and
Okay.
into.
I mean, to the full code that with the land, there is actually landscaping there now. There is a bushes on the side. I did have rocks or the fence, and it's landscaped. That just needs to be cleaned up mostly and brought, properly around. I'll get the cars out of there. I'll get it cleaned up. I'll coat the blacktop. I'll present it. I'll even paint the building. I'll get everything back in good standings and looks for the neighborhood, for everybody going by. Any cars that can get into the back, I'll put back behind there. There's a gate, so you can't see anything behind there. So from the street, none of that will be visible. All the cars that are not being worked on, just people coming in and parking and whatever, will be in the front, and anything that else was sitting will be in the back, out of the sight, away. And I'll bring it all, present it all around and get it cleaned up and in good visible looks.
I think that's what we're looking for.
Right, that's what I mean, I don't know that we can do the whole,
And Mr. Mills,
the
I think
code,
even,
I know, you know what I'm
even
saying?
told, I mean, he even opened the door for you, and I
Right.
think appropriately so by saying,
Right.
you know, if you can't come into full compliance, come in and tell us why.
Okay.
Let us exercise our judgment. But,
Okay.
you know, until we
That's
see
fair.
why you can't do
Okay.
it, we can't really exercise our
I will put
judgment.
my best foot forward to prove to you that I'm on your side in doing that, and then if it needs to be.
Let's go,
that's
let's
for
go
them.
after, let's go after the motion, which is to split it, consolidate into two parcels.
But can I ask one question?
One question.
Since he is going to sell the north building and maybe obviously make some income off of that, can we in escrow put X number of dollars?
There is no income.
You're not
It's
going
a
to make,
break even, if I don't have to come to the table with money. So I mean, I'm in a bad place there.
Okay, so the motion in front of us is to consolidate into parcel. Clean up, and then initially clean up the auto repair shop and then work with Mr. Mills to bring the whole site into compliance.
Give it a time frame.
1 year?
Well, it would be, back to Mr. Bartolt's point, it would be, the lot split wouldn't be approved until the conditions are met.
That's good to say.
that puts him into a catch-22.
All right.
I mean, well, tell me how I could do that a different way. So,
Well, that's why I brought up the escrow thing, to hold him accountable through monetary
Right.
means.
I mean, the next opportunity, the next opportunity for review of anything on the site would be a change of use zoning certificate, because it's going from a welding shop to, what, the type of use that was described earlier. So it would be a change of use on that property, and they would need a zoning certificate. But boy, wouldn't you be upset if you bought the property and now your zoning certificate is held up because of conditions that you didn't agree to. So, I mean,
I mean,
Yeah.
where are we saying legally? I mean, we've got a motion? to
Well,
split
I
it
mean,
and
I think it
consolidate.
boils down to, we can make the motion with the recommendations. It's totally up to you whether or not you can resolve those before the lot split goes through. And we're willing to do that, but I think it's up to you
I don't
to,
understand that.
So let me see if I can summarize here. So, the motion is to approve with two conditions. The first condition is that, the parcels be consolidated into two parcels rather than four. The second condition is that the, vehicles, and we need to put an define this here. So vehicles, are not to be, so vehicles shall not be screened, or vehicles shall be screened from view from Pippin, or, because we've got section 12.10 deals with outdoor sales, display and storage, and basically we're storing cars on here. So that's really what, in the zoning world, that's what we would look to if we were to enforce something here, I believe. I just need to know what outcome you're looking for so that I can enforce it. So if you want more landscaping, let's be particular about what that landscaping is. If it's only the cars that we're worried about, let's be particular about it's only the cars.
I would vote for the screening of the cars and landscaping.
Okay. And additional landscaping per, and then would you approve the landscaping, or would you give me discretion to approve the landscaping?
give you.
I would give discretion to you.
Okay. Okay, but you're being clear that it doesn't need to meet the current, but see, landscaping is, well, okay, all right, I can work that out. Okay, all right.
That's the minimal part of it.
Okay.
The other part
I
of
think
it is the car.
So let's be clear here. Before you get a lot split approval from my office, you would need to have those parcels consolidated and show a different configuration than I have currently. And
No, you're just meaning that back, just the two, instead of four, we want it into two, correct?
yeah,
Correct.
Okay, so we break the four sections that connect those small slivers in the back, make those as one.
yeah.
Connect that together
And
as
then
a part of it.
Yep. And then the second thing is we'll need to get all the vehicles screened, and then we'll work through a landscaping
All
plan.
of them? I mean,
There's no
even in
storage,
the front area, okay, so.
any storage of vehicles on the site.
Okay, so
Customers,
with
that's
landscaping?
different. But if there's vehicles that are actually being stored for a longer period of time than what's being worked on.
And that's difficult to
stuff,
figure out which are being stored for a long period of time and which are not. I mean, the way that I'm trying to think through how I would figure that out.
Well, the impression I get from just driving by is that some of the vehicles have been there forever.
Some of them have been there longer than they should, I agree.
Yeah, and they're
I don't like it
maybe being used for parts, but
Right.
they're clearly not customer cars waiting to be repaired.
I would likely ask to see evidence that they run, that they're not junk vehicles per our,
Well, they would need to be titled anyway.
Titled.
They have to have the current sticker registration. Yes, they need to run.
Okay, how about titled and tagged or anything in front of that, in front of the building out the,
That's fair.
okay? I mean, they're driving cars that are movable.
Yes.
And they're titled and tagged, anything in that front parking area. If anything's different than that, it's gotta be in the back, behind the fences, nobody can see it.
Yes.
And I'll straighten it all up, I'll paint the building, I'll landscape it, and clean it all up. I think once you see what I've done, I'm a man of my word, you'll be happy, and that's what I believe you're looking for. I will give you what you're looking for, and I will straighten that up. I'm not happy with it myself. I don't have the energy to deal with it right at the moment.
so I'm now clear. I am clear of what you all are expecting me to do. And you're clear?
Yeah, because I don't think we're going to be physically capable of all the requirements of bringing that to a code with all the restrictions.
I understand.
they got. As long as I clean it up, I know what you're
Yeah,
looking for, I will give you what you're looking for.
Okay, and we will journalize this, this will be made very clear when we journalize the resolution. It'll be spelled out with language that everybody can understand.
I mean, titled and tagged, anything in that front must be titled and tagged insured car. That's a customer moving them in and out.
There you go.
If it's stored there for anything, if it's not one of that, it's not to be in that front.
Yeah.
That's fair. That's
yeah.
very fair.
And I want to be clear, though, that, because this isn't the only car place in Colerain Township that has, and so I don't want to start treading down the slippery slope of giving special preferential treatment to one versus the other. I want to be very clear that this is not an opportunity to create a junkyard or a pick and pull, or what we're trying to do is enhance the aesthetics of this
Trying
property.
to clean it up, I
That's right.
understand, and I will
Okay.
clean it up.
The operator would still be responsible for getting cars off of there that are junk vehicles and per our zoning and all the other resolutions. Okay, so I just want to be very clear about that. Thanks.
We have enough of an essence of what we want to have this approved, voted on, folks?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the variance with the conditions that have been discussed?
I make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded, and let's vote. Roll call, please.
Mr. Price,
Yes.
Mr. Bartold,
Yes.
Mr. Martin,
Yes.
Mr. Roberto,
Yes.
and Mr. Reininger.
Aye.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. I will do that.
Okay.
Okay.
Next item
Good
on,
luck.
next item on the agenda is case BZA 2014-10, home occupation. Location is 3441 Ringwood. The applicant is Christina Davis, and the owner is Adobe Choice LLC. A staff presentation, please.
All right, so the final case of the evening is related to home occupation. The background on this is we received a complaint from the neighborhood that a massage parlor was being operated from the home at the end of the cul-de-sac on Ringwood, which is it's located right here where the star is. The caller said that people are in and out of there all the time. They're concerned that there's small children in the neighborhood. Upon investigation, a Google search of the address produced a website called Cincinnati's Best Massage, advertising massage services at this address. The property is zoned R6. On January 21st, Officer Frandoni issued a notice of violation, and on February 18th, Officer Frandoni issued a final notice. Section 10.3 of our zoning resolution identifies prohibited home occupations and includes in 10.3.2 home occupations that require fire safety inspections, precautions, or permits, or other regulatory inspections or permits. Any business where the public is invited into a property to purchase goods or services require a fire safety inspection by the Colerain Township Fire Department. So therefore, because Cincinnati's Best Massage invites the public into this property, it does to purchase massage services. It requires a fire safety inspection and therefore is a prohibited home occupation. So that the applicant is asking for a variance from our home occupation rules. The findings of fact are a massage parlor has been operated at this location. The massage parlor requires a fire safety inspection. Home occupations that require a fire safety inspection are prohibited. Therefore, I recommend denial.
Thank you. Is the applicant here? Please come to the podium and state your name and address.
I'm Christina Davis, and I reside at 3441 Ringwood Street, Cincinnati, Ohio, 45229.
Very good. Thank you. Proceed.
It's not a massage parlor by any means, and I wasn't aware that anyone was offended by it. In Hamilton County, state of Ohio, if it is considered relaxation services, you don't need a license. And also, I don't really work with the public. The website was given to me for free, so I just played around with it and made a listing. But the only people that I really take are family and friends and neighbors. My main services that I do is I'm an ordained minister. I have my license with me, and I do a lot of my consultations from home for baptisms, marriages, and funerals. My husband has kidney failure, and that's been going on for about 2 years. It started at our other location. We lived on Niagara Street in Colerain. We moved away from that location because of the bad neighborhood. There was a lot of crime going on around us. The kids didn't ever want to go outside. When we found this house, we liked it because the basement has already been altered by whoever as some kind of services place. The basement was turned into a service area. From what I was told by neighbors, it was a beautician that lived there and operated out of the basement. There was an additional bathroom, kitchen, everything made down there to be able to, even a lobby room, like, to be able to operate out of it. I would never want to offend any of my neighbors or anyone here, anything like that. I kind of think that maybe this is the result of the landlord. He is the new owner of the property. I pay $1,000 a month rent, and it's not going toward the kept up of the property, hiring people to do things that they're definitely not certified to do. It has caused the neighbors to get a little angry. He paid 2 19-year-old boys to chop down a tree that landed in my neighbor's poor backyard and put up with it forever. You know, I called the landlord, and I think maybe just all the commotion that was going on with the tree and with the fences being pushed down and the dogs getting out all the time, I think everyone just got really upset and maybe somebody called. But I definitely, if someone doesn't like me working from home, then I'll try to seek out another avenue, because I wouldn't want to offend anyone that I live around. I love my neighbors. And if I even could maybe get approval to do just the consultation for the ordained ministry from home. I don't want to have to like rent an office just to sit with someone for an hour and talk about their wedding or their baptism or their funeral. So it wouldn't be very cost effective for me to have to rent some separate space when you only sit with someone for 35 to 45 minutes when you're talking about that kind of thing. And it would, the traffic, I'm only one person. I have my own driveway. There's no, you know, I only see maybe 3 people 3 times a week, if that. They pull right into my driveway. There's no space that's ever taken up. I don't work at night. I don't work weekends. I just try to make whatever money I can by whatever means I can right now. I am educated in massage. I went to the Western Hills School of Beauty and Hair Design to be an esthetician. There are 4 types of massage that I am certified in. None of them require a license, although I did take the time to get specifically certified in them. I don't know if that matters or not, but I thought I'd mention it.
Thank you. Like to be seated. We'll ask for any other input.
Sure.
Anyone else to speak in favor? Please.
What do you want me to do? Give you my name?
Yes, bring the microphone down a little bit, yes. Your name and address, please.
My name is Lisa Bruce, and I live at 3431 Ringwood Street.
Were you sworn in? Were you
I
sworn?
was not.
Okay, I need to have you sworn in.
Okay.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in matters before the Board of Zoning Appeals? Say, I do.
I do.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I've lived in the neighborhood going on 12 years, and Christina and her family had moved in next door. I got to know her, my children, play with her children. We live in a cul-de-sac, and the people that she does her massages to, I want to just say in favor of, they drive nice cars, they're very polite, they are professionals, they dress professionally, is what I'm trying to say. And up around the corner, we have way more problems going on with other traffic of like people selling drugs right on the corner. She has been a good neighbor, clean neighbor. If her business is affecting it doesn't affect, as far as I know, it doesn't affect me in a negative way. When they first moved in, of course, she had some people coming in and out, and I had wondered, and I just flat out asked her. And they were in very nice cars, so I was thinking, wow, who are these people? And she told me. And she had did a massage for myself, a friend. She's just very professional, and I don't see a problem with, like she was saying, with the traffic. Sometimes we live in a cul-de-sac, so we get traffic from everybody, not just from her house, my house. We have 8 houses on our street, give or take. And basically, that's it. I don't see a problem with somebody, at least she's got a job and she's working. And the person who owned it before did lose their job, unfortunately, and somebody bought it, now they're renting it. So every time, everybody on the circle would think, oh my goodness, who's going to rent now? That's just natural. And when they moved in, I mean, it's not, I don't think it's negative at all. And I live directly next door to her. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else speak in favor of the applicant? Anyone to speak in opposition to the applicant? Please come up.
I'm Elizabeth Gavard. I live at 3448 Ringwood Street.
And were you sworn in?
I was.
Thank you.
Okay.
Please.
Although I can appreciate needing to make a living, as we all do, I too live next door to Christina, just the opposite side. And there is a lot of traffic that goes in and out. I have 3 daughters, and I was just remarried in November, and I have 2 more daughters and a son. So I have a lot of daughters around, a lot of boys. Kids are playing in our cul-de-sac all the time, and there's a lot of people coming and going. So I was curious, and I did look up her website. There are a lot of shocking reviews to me on the website, and I do have if you want me to read one of them. But I know through that website, it is a massage parlor, and there are pictures of the massage parlor on the website on Cincinnati'sBestMassage.com, which was removed after the complaint was made, and on eroticreview.com. And they do most of their booking through text messages. So with the cars that are coming and going and children that are playing in the street, and this is my neighborhood where I'm raising my family, I'm not comfortable with the traffic at all, and I'm not comfortable with the reviews that I read and knowing that there's strangers coming from all over, wherever, that come and have their massage in my residential little neighborhood. So did you want me to read one of the... Okay.
But, okay. We'll do this one person at a time. What we're going to do is let the record reflect that there is some testimony provided from a website that is being read by Ms. Gabbard.
Yes.
Please.
Okay. It says, coming into town, wanted to set up some fun with an already reviewed provider. Seen, which isn't correct, but saw some great reviews here at Erotic Review on Christina, so I scheduled a session and arrived at her home a little early. I parked in the private driveway. Her home is very nice in a suburb-style area. A few kids, probably mine, were playing, but that meant no attention to me, which is the way that I prefer. The garage door opens, and I see her standing in a fitted dress with silver earrings that stood out amongst her long dark curls. She was really dolled up, and I greeted her. She leaned in for a hug, and I smelled her sweet scent. She is very curvy, much like Kim Kardashian tight body style. I was taken inside the home and into the basement, into the studio room, which looks exactly like it was pictured and advertised. Nicest room set up I've seen, honestly. She had me undress and lie down, and the session begins. She was very sensual, touched, and educated and comfortable with herself. Non-VIPs, I would not miss out on her VIPs. So with that, I'm concerned with my children being in that area, as I bought a home in a nice residential area where I could raise my family. So I don't know these people. I'm sure she's trying to just earn a living. I'm sorry, you know, that it just happens to be located to the house that I'm raising a family in. The neighbors before didn't run a business out of it, and the bottom part was redone for her sister to move in, because she had moved in with them before they ended up foreclosing. But I think that pretty much wraps it up. I'm concerned with the traffic, and I'm concerned with the reviews that I read are pretty shocking. I mean, here's just a couple pictures of the kids that play in the cul-de-sac as they do all the time, and the other one that I had here just talks about how she's very busy, which she has a lot of clientele. There's a lot of people in and out, and it just speaks to you know, how they text and couldn't get a hold of her. Once they arrived, they opened the garage door as stated, and so on and so forth. So done through text message. I just feel like if a business, if it's an avenue to pursue, then perhaps rent a space. I know it may be extra, but it's my home.
Thank you. Anyone else speak in opposition?
Could we enter those pictures and things into the record? Would you like them back, or would? Okay. Thank you.
The record reflect the Ms. Gabbard provided the printed text of what she read, as well as pictures of children playing on the cul-de-sac. Thank you. All right, your name, please.
Jackie Collardo. I live at 3432 Ringwood Street.
And were you sworn in?
Yes.
Thank you. Proceed.
I am definitely not okay with all the traffic that comes in and out. They are all men. I have never seen one woman go in that house. I have multiple pictures of cars going in and out. And they do park on our street where they're not supposed to. This car, for instance, was parked near my driveway for about 20 minutes.
What we'll do, if you would bring the pictures up to the board, we'll take a look at those, and then we'll put them in the record. Mr. Martin, please.
Thank you.
And go ahead and proceed with your comments.
I also have more reviews from eroticreview.com, and I'm not going to read most of them, but I am going to read the last sentence of some of these. The VIP portion is for all the juicy details, so when it says non-VIPers, it's pretty much just general. But this one says, she had me pull in the driveway, she met me there and led me through the garage and downstairs into our basement studio. I got undressed and ... and that's where it ends. This one says, she knows how to relax muscles and make you feel comfy head to toe, among other talents. This one says, if I lived in Cincinnati, she would definitely be a regular VIPers. Read on. Christina's a goddess, very friendly and welcoming. Massage in her private residence is a clean, safe setting. She isn't a clock watcher and gives a great Swedish massage. Highly recommended, and VIPers. Read on. I don't have an account with Erotic Review, so I can't read the juicy details, but I can imagine what they would be. I have seen cars there up until midnight before. I was sitting out on my front porch and with a friend, and cars were coming in and out until midnight. So if it's during the day, it's during the day, it's during the night. I'm not okay with it because this is where I live, this is where I own a home, and I don't think a business should be run in a residential cul-de-sac neighborhood.
Thank you.
Could we have copies of the pictures for evidence? And what was your address? Thank you.
We have them up here as well.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there anyone else speak in opposition to this? If there is not, I will ask for the public portion to be closed, and I need a board motion to do that. The board will ask individuals to come back up. Is there a motion to close the public?
I'll make the motion to close the public portion.
Second?
I'll second.
Very good. Mr. Roberto?
Christina, can you approach the podium, please? How long have you been doing massage or
I
relaxation
have done
therapy?
massage off and on for about 4 years now, ever since.
At this residence?
No, I lived at 3392 Niagara, and before that, when I was going to school, where I learned it, I was staying at 5765 Spire Ridge Court. It's Pinnacle Point Condos off of Harrison Avenue.
But the residence that we're at now, how long have you been doing the massages at this residence?
Off and on for just the year lease that I've been there.
And
And I just want to say, I have 8 brothers and sisters. The people that are coming in after 5 o'clock are never, ever clients. My brothers and sisters have kids too that are my kids' age. They also have family members and in-laws. I'm a big Italian family. I really think half of the people that they think are coming in and out as clients are literally just our rowdy family. We're a big Italian family. We're close. You know, we come over all the time. But we would my husband is in the house the entire time. I've never taken anyone into my home to do anything without my husband on the premises. And you can look at him. A lot of times clients leave just because, and you can tell the ones that are there for bad intentions by the way that they act when they meet my husband. So there is a process. I mean, it sounds crude or whatever. There are a lot of reviews that I have fought to have pulled off of line, because there was one that proudly states that because I would not do what he wanted to do, and he claims that I used my husband as an excuse and my marriage as an excuse, he claimed he was going to go on to all the review lines and write very nasty things, hoping that my husband would see it, hoping that it would cause me problems, because he felt that I wasted his time and money when I would not do those things for him. So I am fighting. It's a losing battle when it comes to massage. It has a stigma that follows it. Unfortunately, there's nothing that I can do about that. You fight for your reputation, fight for your professionalism. I had no idea that these 2 neighbors had an issue with it. They've never, ever approached me. They're very nice to me. I've never spoke with the lady that lives across the street, so I didn't ever know that she ever had a problem. Anyone who comes for the ordained ministry services or the relaxation massage services park in my driveway. That's actually part of my rules. I will not allow them to take up spaces, regardless, even my family. I don't allow my family to take up spaces because we live in a small cul-de-sac. If there was someone there at midnight, it was family, bottom line. No one comes to my house for any form of work services whatsoever past 6, 7 o'clock. And if you look at my old website, the hours were listed. There was no one.
And what are those hours?
My hours were from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Is that what they are currently?
Well, no, because I never worked past 5 o'clock. I haven't even been working a lot lately because of the landlord. He had the yard all tore up. He had
But what is your established hours, just so that we have it for the record?
like 9 to 5.
Right.
And if I do just the ordained ministry consultation from home, it would probably be like 9 to 3.
And speaking to the massage, you said that typically you 3 customers per week, month?
No, I would take, the maximum amount of clients that I would take per day is 3, and the maximum amount of days that I work per week is 5. Like I said, I have a huge family. I wish that there was a way that I can maybe introduce them. I have 5 brothers and 2 sisters. My mom is one of 9 and my dad is one of 14. We're a tight family. I do have a lot of traffic coming in and out, but I'm not going to tell my family, oh, you can't come past 8 because my neighbors might think I'm working. I didn't know that they had a problem with it. No one has literally never came to me and ever said, Christina, I'm uncomfortable with this, because I would have apologized and it would have been immediately. If I would never want anyone to be uncomfortable in their own home. I have children too. I have a 17-year-old daughter and I have a 12-year-old daughter who plays with both of their daughters. And I've never heard a single word about anyone having a problem with this.
Well, given then that your just statement you just said, if then why are we here? I mean, why are you asking for a variance then if you would cease if they're offending someone?
I didn't know that they were offending anyone. No one ever told me why this was a problem. I got a letter from my landlord. I didn't even get a letter from the zoning people. My landlord called me, he actually texted me, and he said, Christina, they want you to get a permit to be able to work from home. And I said, oh, okay. And that was the end of it. I have a text from him from today that says, Christina, I won't be at the hearing tonight. I had to fire 2 chefs and I've not been able to replace them. I still want you to go. So I came. I had no idea anyone had a problem with it. I thought I was coming to protest needing a permit to be able to legally work from home, either through the relaxation massage or the ordained ministry consultation. I didn't know anyone had an issue.
So I'll flip to the ordained ministry side.
I have my license with me.
Well, you provide us a copy,
Oh,
so we're
okay.
fine. So what prohibits you from meeting at a Starbucks or a church that you're going to be doing the ministry at? What prohibits you from doing that?
Because they don't know what church, usually once they've contacted me, because I don't work from a church, it's because they are, their religion does not require a specific, they're not Catholics that are coming to me. They're usually if they're hiring me to do the funeral, the baptism, or the marriage, it's because they're seeking outside of a religion. I don't know if that makes much sense at all, but it's usually going to be in a backyard, or they're going to rent.
Is it in your backyard, or is it?
No, we would never do any kind of weddings or anything like that from my house.
So why wouldn't you meet the potential clients at the location that you're going to do the service at?
Well, I could ask for that. I just don't want to be forced to only be able to do that. But some of them don't know where they're going to go yet. Some of them want to know, do I have any ideas, or do I know of any spaces that I've worked at before? One time I did Mount Airy Park right down on Colerain Avenue. I've suggested that to people before. Some of them may be willing, if I suggest that, to go, well, can we meet there and discuss, plans and arrangements there? I'm open to that. Trust me, I'm easy. I don't like offending people. I don't want anyone to be upset with me. I don't want anyone upset in their own home. I'm just blown away. I had no idea that there was an issue. I'm literally in shock.
Just to be clear, selling a good or a service to the public requires a fire safety inspection. So even selling a service like marriage services to the public, where you invite them into your home, would require a fire safety inspection and therefore is a prohibited use. So whereas I didn't know until the application that this was another use of the property, both uses are prohibited home occupation.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any other further questions. Thank you.
Martin?
Just a couple quick points. First of all, it takes a lot of courage for your neighbors to stand up.
It does.
And I commend them for doing that. Number 2, just so there isn't any question about hearsay or anything else, I was prepared to vote no before I heard the titillating reports. So I'm not relying upon any things that anonymous people wrote online. I'm relying upon the simple fact, as has been stated, that this is an occupation that shouldn't be, whether it's a ministry, whether it's any kind of massage, it shouldn't be taking place where it's taking place. I know lots of people that they're photographers, there are all sorts of services that they render, and what they do is they meet people in their homes, which is, I think, what Mr. Roberto was getting at. I mean, you can clearly, if someone wants to hire you as a minister, suggest that you meet them in their home. So
And I'm open to
and,
that.
yeah, well-
I just never thought about it before. It never came about. I never had to.
And the other thing, last thing I will say is no one is saying that you can't have your family over. I don't think your neighbors are saying they don't want to see your family
I
over.
think
No one
they
is saying.
think they're clients.
Well, then the whole issue will be taken off the table if you don't do it anymore. And I think, again, I think what you're saying is, and Mr. Roberto pointed this out, if you're saying that you would not want to offend anyone, people are exercising a lot of courage, coming here, telling us they're offended. That should be enough for you to say, okay, I'm not going to do it anymore. And
And I have no problem with that.
So,
I would have never,
well,
this
then,
wouldn't even have.
then you won't have any
about if I
problem
knew.
with the fact that at least I intended to vote to deny the variance.
Not at all.
Thank you.
Mr. Price?
I don't really have any questions. I agree with Mr. Mills that the biggest concern I have also is that you need a fire inspection. And, I mean, even at our business, we get annually inspected by the fire department, and they come in and go, hey, you can't have that power strip plugged into that power strip and into that computer.
I wouldn't mind having one if I could do ordained ministry, but I think you said that we're not allowed to do that from this area.
Yeah,
The issue isn't quite that you don't have a fire safety inspection. The issue is that because your use of the property requires a fire safety inspection, it is then prohibited.
Okay.
So,
So no matter what, there is no way to have any home occupations in this particular area.
You can have a home
Correct.
occupation, but it has to be, it can't be one of the prohibited home occupations in our zoning resolution, and if it is not one of the prohibited home occupations, then it has to conform to a set of rules.
yeah, I have to vote no too, I'm sorry.
I'm
But
okay,
good
you
luck.
guys. I'm okay, you guys. Don't worry.
Mr. Barthold?
Yeah, well, just based on what you said, I was curious, like, if she wasn't doing what she was doing, but she was taking care of children and getting money for it, is that allowed?
The state of Ohio has really clear definitions about daycare services. It's like, if it's a 1 through 5 children being watched, it's called like a Class C. And then it's like 5 to 12 is a Class B, and 12 and above is a Class A. And so these daycare centers each have varying levels of oversight by the state of Ohio. And
I mean, that's
subsequently,
not is that addressed in our
yeah,
resolution?
so we base, in our use tables, in like, in the residential and the business districts, it lists the different types of daycares that are permitted in different districts. So
Is
like,
there any pamphlets or listings that state what home occupations are permitted?
yes. Section 10.3 of the zoning resolution deals with prohibited ones, home occupations. Section 10.2 is the rules for if it's not prohibited. So that's where you start. You say, hey, is this allowed or not allowed? If it's
That's
allowed,
what I would like
yeah.
to have, something that I can refer to so that I don't offend anyone, or, I mean, to be honest, I might have to move if the only thing that I'm gonna be able to do is the ordained ministry. I'm not pulling in a whole lot of money, and with the landlord, I got myself into a situation, I'm paying $1,000 a month because I wanted the nicer neighborhood for my kids, and,
But let's be clear, we're not suggesting that it's okay to do the ministry. You understand that?
yes, I do.
Okay.
And we're saying that there's
You're
it's
saying
just
I
the same
can't work at
opportunity you can
home.
take your massage to your clients rather than the clients come to you.
Right.
If that's,
Okay.
if that's
The
legal.
key point is simply inviting the public into your home
Okay,
requires fire safety inspection, and then that triggers the fact that in a fire safety inspection, anything requiring that in a residential neighborhood is prohibited. The key is inviting non-family, obviously, into the home, triggers a fire safety inspection in a residential environment. Anything requiring a fire safety inspection is not allowed.
so if it's family, because the whole reason why I got ordained was to do my brother's wedding, being as they're not the public, am I allowed to do family consultations at home?
That would be just a family visit. I mean, that wouldn't be a consultation.
That's not the
Yeah.
public,
Okay.
that's just
Right.
family.
Right. Now, let's not try to toe the line here. And,
No, I'm not trying to
Okay,
pull
yeah,
the
yeah,
wool
yeah.
over your eyes. I'm
Okay,
not
yeah.
saying that I'm gonna have people there and
Okay.
go, oh, this is my
Yeah,
brother.
got it.
I just wanna make sure that if there is someone there and I'm caught walking out the door and my sister's telling me, because my sister's getting married next, and if me and her are talking about stuff walking out the front door with her being my neighbor, you know, her kids are outside, my kids are outside, they overhear something, I'm scared to death now that if they overhear me talking to someone about wedding plans walking out the door, that, you know, she's gonna be like, oh, no, you're not supposed to be doing that here. And so I just wanna know, if it's family, can I introduce the neighbor to them to make them feel better?
I will read from staff report that says, any business where the public is invited into the property to purchase goods or services requires a fire safety inspection by Colerain Township Fire Department. Any business where public is invited into the property to purchase goods and services requires a fire safety inspection, and that is prohibited in a residential district.
So a free consultation is allowed.
Let's not. I would not go there.
Any business where the public is invited into the property to purchase a good or service requires a fire safety inspection.
Okay.
Yep.
I understand.
And just because it's free doesn't take it out of that context.
Yeah, let's not. We don't want to, yeah.
All right, so
I don't have any other
I will ask for a motion to approve or deny this request for home occupation.
I will make a motion to deny the variance.
I'll second it.
Motion's been made and seconded to deny the home occupation. An affirmative vote denies the.
Affirmative vote denies. Mr. Price?
Yes.
Mr. Bartolt?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Roberto?
Yes.
Mr. Reininger?
Aye.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, good luck.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is resolution for adoption, and it's going to be BZA 2014-02. Okay, whereas Christopher Gaines on March 3rd, 2014 filed appeal BZA 2014-02 with Colerain Township Board of Zoning Appeals pursuant to Article 3.3.2 of the zoning resolution seeking a variance for installed privacy fence as applied to the property located at 2614 Bell Branch. Whereas this board has considered all evidence properly presented and finds it to deny the variance would not result in unnecessary hardships to the owner of the premises in question and would be in keeping with the spirit of the zoning resolution, therefore be it resolved that by virtue of the foregoing, the Colerain Township Board of Zoning Appeals does hereby deny the variance of section 12.8.4 of the zoning resolution. Be it further resolved that the fence shall be reinstalled, the finished side facing out within 30 days of journalization, and be it further resolved all plats and applications and other data submitted be and are hereby made part of this resolution. Vote, please.
Mr. Bartolt?
No.
Oh. That's it?
That's why I voted.
Okay, no. Mr. Martin?
Yeah, I'm just,
So an affirmative
yes,
vote
yes.
denies, right?
yeah, I vote to deny.
Okay, Mr. Price?
Yes.
Mr. Reininger?
I voted to deny.
You vote to deny. That's an affirmative vote. Mr. Roberto?
Yes.
Very good.
Okay, next we have resolution for adoption, BZA 2014-04. Oh, did I miss one? 03. Oh, I'm sorry, yes, under the same, okay. Variance for accessory structure treehouse, Article Section 10.2.3. Whereas Christopher Gaines on March 3rd filed appeal number BZA 2014-03 with Colerain Township Board of Zoning Appeals pursuant to Article 3.3.2 of the zoning resolution seeking a variance for an existing structure as applied to the property located at 2614 Bell Branch Court, Colerain Township. Whereas this board has considered all evidence properly presented and finds that to deny the variance would result in unnecessary hardship to the owner of the premise in question and would not be in keeping with the spirit of the zoning resolution. Therefore, be it resolved that by virtue of the foregoing, the Colerain Township Board of Zoning Appeals does hereby grant a variance of section 10.2.3 of the zoning resolution, subject to conditions 1, 2, and 3. Vote, please.
Mr. Bartolt?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
No.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Mr. Reininger?
Yes.
And Mr. Roberto?
Yes.
All right, now we can do 12 point, BZA 2014-04. Whereas Gilligan Oil Company on March 21st, 2014 filed appeal number BZA 2014-04 with Colerain Township Board of Zoning Appeals pursuant to Article 3.3.2 of the zoning resolution seeking variances for redevelopment of a site as applied to the property located at 9760 and 9780 Colerain Avenue, Colerain Township. Whereas the board has considered all evidence properly presented and finds that to deny the variance would result in unnecessary hardship to the owner of the premise in question and would not be in keeping with the spirit of the zoning resolution, therefore be it resolved that by virtue of the foregoing, the Colerain Township Board of Zoning Appeals does hereby grant variances of Article Section 8.3.1, 8.4.2 bracket C, 8.4.6 bracket C, 12.9.4, 14.6.1, and 15.8.3 bracket G of the zoning resolution, subject to conditions 1 through 4. Vote, please.
Mr. Bartold.
Yes.
Mr. Martin.
No.
Mr. Price.
Yes.
Mr. Reininger.
Yes.
Mr. Roberto.
Yes.
Case number BZA 214-06. Whereas Thomas Dunn on January 14, 2014 filed appeal number BZA 2014-06 with Colerain Township Board of Zoning Appeals pursuant to Article 3.3.2 of the zoning resolution seeking a variance for the covered porch addition as applied to the property at 2629 John Gray Road, Colerain Township. Whereas public hearing was, whereas, let me get the right whereas here. Whereas the board considered all evidence properly presented and found that although the proposed porch has a roof, it is unenclosed as set forth in Article 12.3.3. Porch may project into the front yard setback for a distance not exceeding 10 feet. Therefore, a variance is not needed. And since we don't need a variance, do we need a vote?
Yes.
Okay.
As for an interpretation. Mr. Bartold.
Abstain.
Mr. Martin.
Yes.
Mr. Price.
Yes.
Mr. Reininger.
Yes.
Mr. Roberto.
Yes.
Okay, unfinished business, I have none. I have minutes from the April 23rd meeting.
I'll move that we approve them.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Administrative matters, none. Motion to adjourn.
Move that we adjourn.
Thank you. Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Becky, do I have to sign those minutes?
Yes.